got your install done and you're ready to go out and have a good time, turn your switch on but your motor runs or it doesn't run or something doesn't respond. Why does that happen? Because your calibration hasn't been done correctly. So this is how basically all of the calibrations work. Make sure you have your throttle trim set to 0, all your travels at 100%, any brake limitation set to 100% as well. Calibration starts with battery pack plugged in, radio turned on. You're going to hold down the set button and then turn the speed control on. The speed control is blinking, waiting for you to do the next step. Let's leave it at neutral. Push the button, it'll blink one time after that. You'll move to full throttle, push the button again, it'll blink twice. You go to full reverse, push the button, it'll blink 3 times. Then you let go, and it's all done. After that, you should get throttle operation normally. And that's it. Calibration. Okay, so you got your install done, you have your calibration completed, and you want to use your programming box. So we're going to take a quick look at a few of the things that I do with my own rig. The first thing you want to do is make the connection correctly. We get a lot of calls and emails about how to connect the boxes. They don't go through the receiver wire, they actually use the fan port here. So you'll use this double-ended harness to connect into the fan port. The black wire goes towards that direction. It's marked on the case, sometimes it's kind of hard to see, but it's easy to remember. The black wire goes away from the blue motor wire. That plugs in there, and then you turn the switch on, and that'll power on the box. Oops. Shows you the version of the box, and then you push enter, it'll connect to the speed control, and then it'll show you the version of the speed control as well. Takes just a moment. I don't make a whole lot of changes to my default settings, but there are a couple. Main thing being I turn the reverse on. They default on forward and brake, which you can tell by the asterisk. So I just run mine on forward, reverse, and brake so that I can back away from crashes. We go to a lot of places where there's no turn marshals at all. After that, I leave it on auto calculate for the cells. I generally run 2 cells all the time in this rig, so that's not a big issue. Auto cutoff as well for the voltage. The speed control is real safe in the auto mode, so I don't mind using the auto for the voltage cutoff myself. Protection on the motor and the speed control, all the default. Rotation is default as well. I don't have high voltage servo, so I run them at 6 volts. Full brake is a ton of brake, real hard on the drivetrain, can lock up the front tire, so I leave the brake at default as well. That's 50%. When we use reverse, it doesn't do much more than back away, so that's default as well. The one thing I do change is the punch. On setting number 1, it's real soft. It defaults on setting number 5. I like number 9. It's real linear. The higher the punch level is, the more linear the throttle seems to feel to me. So I run mine at 9 most of the time. You can see what the defaults are again with that asterisk. It starts on 5, which isn't bad. It works totally fine, drives great, but number 9 just feels a little bit better. And then if you don't hit enter, or OK rather, it won't save anything. No big deal, but just to show you, to make sure save data OK, and then we carry on. No drag brake and short course, no need for that. Coast is a run-on feature. A lot of those applications that are real slick, or you need that the motor doesn't slow down at all when you let off the throttle. Coast is like a run-on. The motor will keep running just a little bit. I don't use that at all. Most folks don't. It's very specific to, I think, some dirt oval or some oval applications. Neutral range I do increase 1 setting just because my radios are a little old and worn out. It makes the reverse a little more consistent. If you do have any inconsistent reverse or throttle operations, a good idea to try opening up your neutral range. I switched to full sensor mode. I like the throttle response a little bit better myself with mid-range, under big loads. A lot of the run-ups on faces, or when you get real loaded up, that full sensor mode feels a little bit better, a little bit more locked in and responsive is all. I don't run any timing for most of the stuff that I do. I don't have any reason to run tons of horsepower. The motors are plenty fast. I just hang more pinion gear on it as necessary. And there's a restore, so if you make a bunch of changes and it doesn't run right, you can just restore everything in one fell swoop. You don't have to go back and do that yourself. So there you have it. Look at the setup that I run in my scaler. This is the V10 G2 13.5 race motor. And what I do is I electrical tape all the vents and a good section of the power wires coming out to keep it splash guarded. This motor also has the 13.5mm tuning rotor in it, a little more oomph or torque. I run my scaler on 2-cell because I have so many 2-cells. So this is set up with the XR10 stock spec, and I have it in the crawl mode with a couple little changes that we're going to take a look at for you. When using the programming box, like just about everything else, it does not go through the actual receiver wire. It plugs into the fan port there. Turn the switch on, power comes on, push the button, and it connects to the speed control. And then we can walk through and see what setting changes we have. It takes a minute. Zero timing, obviously. Forward and reverse is the crawl mode so that you don't get any delay between the items. That's easy. Turn the reverse force all the way up because I like to be able to emergency back off of obstacles. I leave my cutoff voltage on auto, temperature protection, all that stuff still on default settings. Same with the BEC voltage. The remote on off I don't like to use. Throttle rate up at 30. Throttle curve at linear, neutral range. This particular one I have at default because the instant reverse and stuff like that, you want to keep a nice tight rein on your throttle, so I run that at defaults as well. No coast, that's that run-on feature where when you let off the throttle it kind of runs the motor on. We don't use that in crawling at all. I just recently turned my drive frequency down to try to get a little bit more low in response. The lower your drive frequency are, the more kind of grab or response the motor is going to have at low speed throttles. Softening value leave off at default. Softening range, that's all for the timing advanced stuff. When you go with the high-end racing gear with the timing and the boost and all that, you can use the softening. Drag brake I have right now at 65%. That I adjust a little bit. I like to have it so that the truck will hold on a pretty steep incline, but if it gets too steep it'll start to decelerate under its own weight. Brake force at 0, initial brake at 0, and what that does is it smooths out the reverse. When the reverse is real choppy or rough, those are the two settings that you change. Same brake rate, I turn that all the way down too, because that is the controlling of the reverse side for the rock crawl stuff. So I just turn all those all the way down. Leave that at linear. Brake frequency you can change, and that doesn't seem to have a huge effect on too many things. I just have it there. Brake control I have at traditional. No boost timing. You actually probably could do a little bit of that with the crawling, but I don't like to mess with that a whole bunch. It's a little risque. But you see everything there just at default because it's all turned off. And this also has a restore feature so that you can reset everything without going back one at a time. So there you have it. That's my crawler setup this morning because I fixed the rig and I want to go test it. So SCX had some problems in the front end. The hat washers were all clapped out, so I replaced those last night and it solved all the front end problems that were making it bind up. So no better way to test it than to go out to flat rock and give it a whirl. You always have to be careful going to flat rock when you walk through this green belt because there are tons of dog turds. It's like the trailhead. You go down the easy part and get down to the trailhead. Flat rock runs along. I think this is Santa Rosa Creek, and when it dumps or rains a lot, this gets all flooded out. There's been water, well, I'll show you, way high when we get down to where the rocks are. See all the donuts? The flat rock. That's why everything is splash guarded for splashes. That's the underhang. I love that line. The swamp spot, as we always are, it's a weekday, but we have special guests. It's MoKe and Jet. They're famous from the interwebs. That guy's been on TV. That guy's been on TV. They're at our local spot. We have little mini hobby nerd boners right now.
Came back down.
See, even the pros crash into the trees and have to take the walk of shame. And like pros, they help each other find their copters. Because the more eyes, the quicker you find it. I'm gonna go with. Spot has swamp flies.
Right here.
And we think that it's somewhere in here. Travis doesn't know about beepers, so he likes to
Right there.
take his seat. That's some waist-high grass. Well, you can't tell because his pants are down around his ankles. It's something close to that. He found it. It only took a minute. I didn't even have time to make a sweet edit. Good job.